special guest speaker, and his name is Taron Puri. And on his little card here it says, turning negatives into positives. So I'm going to talk to him about my visa bill. Just a moment. The last time we hosted Taron, it was in 2006, and there's been a lot of wonderful feedback about his experience here with us. And so I'm excited about having a taste of that today. Just a little side note, this Wednesday he's going to be a guest of Jenny Cousins on Soulworks. But today he's our guest, and I guess we're his. And we're so very grateful, so please give him a hand as he comes up onto the stage.
Can this gal breathe or what? I mean, I know that we, since Reverend Pat is away, we could misbehave and we could take a vote and maybe just carry on with. I mean, it makes no sense to me to be talking about breath when it can be expressed so beautifully. And that band, I guess I'm not allowed envy up here, so I will just breathe through that one. And by the way, Amy, you know that visa bill thing? Turning, when all else fails, breathe. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, the universe is playing with me again, and how it's playing with me is that, it's great to talk about a topic and give people all of this wonderful inspiration and what they should be doing and how. But the universe has this way of always making me actually live it out. And so, my once every 3-year respiratory issue surfaced on time. They have so much fun with me. And they said, oh yeah, smart guy? You're gonna go up and speak to these wonderful people and you're going to speak to them about breathing? Good. We'll just give you a little bit of practical experience with it. So, I have brought my matching bottle with my lemon water. And I have been weaned off the bottle. I just wanted you to know that. Today I'm asking for a little bit of extra support here to have a voice to share with everyone. And all I've been doing all week is breathing, and I hope you have too, actually. And if you've been doing that, you can go home now. No, don't move. So it's wonderful because the Center for Spiritual Living welcomes people from all walks of life. Okay? The differences are celebrated. I mean, I loved it when we were singing earlier, and the words were different clothes, and I went, okay. And then it went different color, and I went, oh gosh, and a different name. I mean, how many Taroons are there here? And yes, it rhymes with maroon, and so that's a great way to remember it. I will not be offended. So I thought that's great, but then I got thinking, well, what are the commonalities? Differences are great, it brings us together, but I think we also come together on a basis of commonalities. And so I wanted to know what I had in common, what I thought I had in common with all of you so that we could have a meaningful interaction. And the first word that came to my mind was stress. Does anybody in this audience get frustrated? Yeah. Okay. You can say hallelujah, by the way. Does anybody get angry? Yeah. Resentful? Depressed? Yeah. How about jealous? A little bit. Talk to me after, Steve. Okay. And self-judgment. Anybody ever go into self-judgment? Okay, so, wow, that's good. So we have something in common. It's called stress. The other thing I thought we had in common was the obvious, breath. Presumably, everybody here has some today. Sometimes my audiences, you never know. Okay, but presumably, I can't see you that well with the bright lights, but I can hear you breathing. And of course, the third thing was obvious. Taxes. Right? Okay, so now that we have a common basis here, as a student of life and a lifelong learner, I've always reflected on how does this universe work? And to me, it came down to one word, energy. Everything is energy. Everything. Sometimes people ask me, well, oh, so you're going over here, you're doing this trip or you're doing this program, and is it spiritual? was think, what isn't? What isn't of spirit? Okay? It's like one of the gurus. I remember my father, who was my greatest mentor, telling me a story once that one of the gurus, I think in the Sikh faith, had gone to Mecca. And when he was over there at the holy shrine for Muhammad, he sat down and he sat in such a way that his feet were pointing at the shrine. Now, wow. So he was approached and asked this question, you know, Sire, Guruji, how can you do that? Like, how can you point your feet, you know, at the holiest of shrine? And his answer was, is there a place where God is not? So where would you like me to point my feet? Interesting. This energy has so many forms, and one of the forms it takes is stress. And for me, very simply put, stress occurs when we are blocked or stuck. Back to English class. When we're blocked or stuck or compromised in some way. Very simply put, negative stresses are those things which, you know, we don't feel we have some control over, and we still try to be in charge. Correct? And so we feel blocked, stuck, and suddenly I am stressed because my energy is not moving. Now, the mind, through the medium of thought, is the mediator of this energy. Every thought is an energy, and every thought produces a reality. Thought has been photographed. Did you know that? They've actually taken a photograph of thought. So it's now, for those scientists in our audience, very real. Every thought you have creates a momentum, either in the negative or the positive, if you want to use that paradigm. But here's another fact that the ancients had already figured out, that our minds are very powerful. Our mind is like a team of powerful, world-class horses. Let's say a team of 12 horses. Can you imagine? They could be Arabians, they could be black stallions, but these are amazing horses. And there you are, sitting on this carriage, and you have these reins, and you've entered this world. One issue with this is, though, that the horses just happen to be running in every direction. Does that sound familiar? Is it just me? Okay, come on, be honest. Right? Right? They're going everywhere but where you want it to go. And they have their own mind, and they're doing what they want to do, and you get to go along for the ride. Welcome to life. So, what are we going to do? Because in the ancients, and when I talk with the ancients, talk about all the masters, they had some insights and conclusions which Taron has taken the liberty to reframe into his own language. And in one of my presentations I do on energy, called Manage Your Energy, Not Your Stress, people come in to get really inspired, and wow, he's going to give us the secret to not being stressed. And the first 10 minutes into the program, I have to tell them the bad news, right? And they're all like, you know, we're here for some high energy, and I'm going, okay, I'll give you the bad news first. And they go, okay, tell us the bad news. And you should see what happens to the energy when I say this. I said, according to the ancients, here is the fact that in life, misery is guaranteed. Great, Mr. Positive here, right? Misery is guaranteed. But then I tell people, wait a minute, don't let your mind run ahead. Take a moment, and wait for the second part, the good news. Because while misery is guaranteed, suffering is optional. And who do you think that's up to? Okay? Misery is guaranteed, but suffering is optional. So now here, learning to manage that energy and those horses, we need a weekend. Talk to me afterwards. Today, I want to focus on, because I'm kind of lazy, okay, I don't know about you guys, but yeah, I do things because I have to, you know, and so I try to find the easiest way to keep it simple, spirit formula, okay? So I got thinking, how can I work with these crazy horses? How can I get my energy to work for me? How can I focus? How can I become clear? How can I remain centered in the midst of the storm? There's all this stuff. Remember I was talking about looking at a morning meditation of Facebook? And how when I look, I'm constantly getting these messages of what I should be doing, how I need to be thinking, how I need to really like that unkind person. You know the one. I need to forgive them. So I was thinking, what is it? What can I do? What can I use that I always have with me? That is available to me all the time. Which energy is the most available to you right now? And it is available to you 24/7. And that energy, my friends, is breath. I know I'm stating the obvious, but I want you to actually think about it. While you are here on this planet, going through this journey called life, you have this one energy that's available to you, and it is the core mechanism which you can employ right now to effectively negate or release that negative stress in your life. So let's focus on managing your energy and not your stress, because I don't know about you, but I've never found stress management to work. So managing my energy by becoming aware of my breath and all the gifts that it carries with it. All the ways that my breath can help me. And, you know, I don't know what the kind word is, but sometimes I tend to be frugal. So I love it when something is for free. And breath, so far, because we haven't had that taxed yet, but I wouldn't hold my breath. You know, it's readily available and it's free. I'm not asking you to go out and invest in some huge mechanism or machines or manuals. People, you know how to breathe, kind of. Okay? So, isn't that great? And the great poet Wordsworth had a wonderful insight on breath. And he really encapsulates the message I have to give to you today, because I'm talking about conscious breathing. And he used one word in his 4 lines that just went pow. And the word is thoughtful. Here's what Wordsworth said. And now I see with eye serene the very pulse of the machine. A being breathing thoughtful breaths, a traveler between life and death. Wow. Here's a man who is talking about the power of conscious breathing. So let's talk about that. What am I talking about here? Did you know that the only system, and your body is full of different systems, processes, the only system that you can right now take conscious control over is your breathing. It's an autonomic process, which means that the lungs started when you were born, and they continue. And on the other side of that, you can make it a voluntary process. And have you realized that the first thing that changes when an event occurs is your breath? Dr. Sheldon Saul Hendler, is a MD, said that breathing is the first place, not the last, one should look at when fatigue, disease, or other evidence of disordered energy presents itself. Isn't that a fantastic term? Disordered energy. The first place. Because the moment you have a thought, let's put it that way, and it could be a conflict, or it even could be a positive thought. The first thing that will change is the quality of your breath, the quantity of your breath, the pace, the rhythm, the duration. And all of this will impact you at all 4 levels of your being, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. The question becomes, how aware are you of this? When you walk out of here, or while you're sitting here and having a thought, oh my gosh, did I leave the stove on? What happens to your breathing with that thought? Ever noticed? You're here, the stove's at home. Or are you really here? And what's your breath doing? Notice that when we experience passion, our breathing is different, isn't it? Yeah. That's a hallelujah if I ever heard. And how about rejection? What happens with your breath when you experience the thoughts of rejection? Elation and love versus anger and hate. Interestingly enough, the Hindu tradition in the Vedas talks about life, how long a life you have been given, in the number of breaths that have been assigned to you. Isn't that cool? The number of breaths that you have been given is the exact amount of time and space that you will occupy on this planet. So wouldn't it make sense that you start to become a little smarter or more aware of how you use those breaths? If you're into emotions that speed up your breathing in a crazy way, you know, right? I'll hold off on my acting career. You know, your breathing, you have just used up 10 breaths. Could you have done that in 3 breaths? What happens when we slow down our breathing? And you know, when we start thinking about things, we stop breathing, people, so cut it out. Breathe. You notice as soon as the mind engages? I'm doing the task. Don't bug me now. I've got to get through this task. And often I say to my people, breathing really helps. Okay? It will really help you through this task. We come here to be inspired every Sunday, and we hopefully look for inspiration in our lives. To inspire means to breathe in spiritus. You cannot experience inspiration without inspiring. The deeper you breathe, the more fully you breathe, the more inspired you become in life. See, if you'd known it was that easy, you could have just stayed in bed today, done your breathing exercises, and, right? You become inspired. Of course, the opposite of that is the expired, but we'll keep it positive today. So breathing to remain spiritually centered. What does that mean? Did you know, in my own unscientific way, I have thought about, researched, and observed in the 30+ years that I have worked with individuals, organizations, and most importantly, the most disturbed of them all, yours truly, that to stay spiritually centered, if I do not maintain an awareness, and if I do not choose to be breathing consciously, I cannot stay present. And when I am not present, spirit cannot be effective, because spirit only lives in present time. That's the whole of spirit. Anywhere else that I go is either the past or the future. Most of us volley between the two, and we never show up here. And that I also recognized in this process that I could not be centered because, like most people what I've observed, is that people spend at least 80%, that's my unscientific statement, at least 80% of the time of the day we spend in reaction. See, we don't respond to situations, we react. And look at how much energy is wasted. So when we're reacting constantly, and what do we react to first thing in the morning? Our own thoughts. We start right away. Or if I happen to go and look in the mirror and turn the lights on, oh boy, right? Look at you, right? And it starts. So in order to get myself centered, even before I leave my room, I do my morning ritual. Yeah, Facebook's part of that, but I do my morning ritual. I get up, I take a pulse, and I go, great, you might get another day, I have a pulse. And then I do 10 or 20 breaths. I just breathe, and I say hello to myself, and I say hello to the world. I get myself centered, even before I will step off the side of the bed. because I know it just doesn't take very much to get me off center. And if I want to spend the day from a place of being spiritually centered, then I need to inspire fully. I need to connect with me, and I need to show up in the moment. So that when I choose to move forward into the world, I am totally present. Does that make sense? Isn't it amazing common sense? But often it's not common, right? Dr. Fritz Perls said a beautiful line. He said that fear is excitement without the breath. Isn't that cool? Fear is excitement without the breath. So breathe, and suddenly fear has no place to go. And suddenly you can be excited about life, and you can be full of anticipation rather than worry. Because what's going to unfold, what's going to happen is going to happen with or without you. How would you like to change worry, doubt, pessimism, fear, and transform it through the breath into anticipation and wonder? Okay? Mastery in breath is what? There's a couple of examples I just want to really whet your appetite about this. Who has read Autobiography of a Yogi? Okay. So some of you know about Swami Yogananda's work with Kriya Yoga, which is a process of breath. He brought this into North America. There's actually been a phenomenal film released on this a few months ago that is amazing, on the life of Yogananda. Incredibly inspiring. But what I'm going to share with you is this man had mastered breath, and he didn't just talk about it. He actually demonstrated it. And he not only demonstrated it in life, he demonstrated it in death. When he passed away, a notarized statement was signed by the Los Angeles coroner at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park. Here's what he said. No physical disintegration was visible in his body even 20 days after death. This state of perfect preservation of a body is so far in the annals of mortuary science an unparalleled one. Yogananda's body was apparently in a phenomenal state of immutability. And I don't know about you, but if I don't shower for a day, there's trouble. Okay? So we have a ways to go, people. But here he is. The Master has shown us that through the science of conscious breathing, we can master this realm of the physical human consciousness. It doesn't have to run us. It doesn't have to own us. And we become spiritually centered. We actually start to show up and become who we are. And when we talk about connecting to the 3 Ps that I talk about when I talk about the spiritual diet, passion, purpose, and power. That's how I get you to connect yourself back into life.